Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 2066. The topic is Q&A, and the title is, Do I have to track nutrition for my training program to work? Recently, a high-level powerlifter reached out and wanted to work together, which is awesome. We're actually into our first month already, so very excited about that. And they have a couple meets coming up that they wanted to do. There's going to be 2 in the fall here, 1 in the spring, and they were hoping by the spring one that we could reach an elite total. I actually think we'll reach it before that, so we'll see. They compete at 181 pounds. Their current best total is 1,441. So 1441, and they want to achieve an elite total, which is in the high 1400s, but they really want a 1500 plus total. So they want the elite total, but also the 1500, and that's their kind of main goal. Now, whenever they first reached out, we did our Zoom consultation. The main thing they were talking about was training programming. So I asked about their nutrition, and they replied, "Oh, I don't really need help with my nutrition, just the training." So I said back, if you don't mind, can you describe what you do for your nutrition, just in case there are some areas we can improve? They said sure, that they eat a minimum of 2,500 calories a day with 180 grams of protein. They train in the midday after their morning clients. They're a personal trainer. So they like to peak their calories before and after training, so they taper up through the morning, taper down through the rest of the day, and they said that that's really helped them stay lean. And I said, well, that's awesome. That sounds great. How about hydration? Do you have an amount of fluid that you consume per day? And they said they usually drink around 100 ounces a day, that they drink 4 to 5 of these. And they held up what looked like a 24-ounce kind of shaker bottle. I said, great. So you compete at 181, but what's your weight between meets? Like, what's your normal training weight? And they said, I'm around 181 all year. And I was like, okay, well, would you be opposed to gaining more muscle and getting leaner? I ask it that way because who the hell would, right? There actually are some times where people say they don't want to do that. But for me, if somebody said, do you want to gain muscle and get leaner? I'd be like, hell yeah, man. So I said it could better help maximize your strength within the weight class. And they replied, I'm not really sure if I could get bigger, that they had been that weight since high school, and it never really seemed to budge, and that they like the way they look to help draw in clients. So I asked, would being bigger and leaner, you think, be a negative for drawing in more clients? And they said, well, no, probably not. They just didn't think they could get bigger since they've been eating consistent and training consistently, but their weight never seems to change. And I said, well, if we look into it a little bit, we could play with increasing your calories. 2,500 calories at an active body weight of 181 is actually pretty low. I didn't tell them this, but I'll tell you this. I just did an interview with another one of my clients, Jared Karoff. He's a physical therapist and an elite powerlifter. He has over 500 dots. So crazy, stupid, amazing strength. At the next meet, we're actually going to be going for 10 times body weight for a total. And he has it. Like, we have it in the gym. We just now going to put it on the platform. So he competes at 146 pounds. He's now going to be competing at 155. But he eats 2,500 calories a day. So he's only 155 pounds, and he eats 2,500 calories a day. So this client who weighs 181, so almost 30 more pounds, is only eating the same thing that Jared eats. And they're active. Like this client is active, just like Jared is. Jared's a physical therapist. He's on his feet. He trains. He opens and works at a gym that he trains at. He's active and moving. Always doing something. And this client's the same. They train clients in the morning, train clients in the evening. They work out in the middle of the day. They're always up and active on their feet. So 2,500 calories it's like getting them by. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's the most that they could be consuming and be able to then maximize their body composition at that body weight. So even though they're eating that and it seems to be holding them steady, it doesn't mean that that's the peak of what we could get. It's in the ballpark, but it's not the optimal. That's the idea. We're looking for what's optimal. So I told them that 2,500 calories at an active body weight of 181 pounds is actually pretty low. So you do have great protein intake, that's awesome, around 1 gram per pound of body weight. But if we're not eating enough carbs and fats to properly support the new muscle growth process, then I would be willing to bet that your performance and recovery quality could improve with more calories. We can front load those calories before the workout for carbs and fats, since that's really what we're looking for. We're not looking to add protein. We want to front load that before the workout so your body can use it for the workout, lessen the deficit that's created from the workout, and then that actually allows for a better growth response after the workout. So we could eat more, not really gain body weight. We would actually gain muscle tissue and promote more fat loss. So we would peak their body composition by eating more. And I said also 100 ounces of fluids a day at 181 pounds is actually kind of low. So we could bump that up as well, and that would help you feel more mobile, have better recovery between workouts, better digestion, better daily energy, all the good stuff. Because they had talked about how they feel very stiff and their hips are very kind of like junky and gunked up and tight all the time. And I said the hydration would definitely help towards that. So we could tweak the training programming for sure, and that's definitely what we're going to do, to push our weaknesses, to bring up the main lifts. But adding these nutritional aspects will make a huge difference. Our training adaptations are limited if our nutrition is limited. So adding some of these nutritional aspects could help us really maximize the new training program and finally get those extra 50, 60 pounds on your total to get that 1,500 pound total. Now we're within the first month of programming, the week 3, and this past weekend, this is what they wrote in their journal. I felt really good during deadlifts yesterday. My gym has no AC, bummer, so I was sweating like crazy, but I still felt like I had better energy throughout the workout, and I could tell in my accessories I was able to push them harder than I normally do. I'm excited to see the changes in the coming months. So that's awesome. That makes me very happy that they're happy. So that's great. And that is something that we can see a tangible response that they got within the first 3 weeks was they have better energy lasting through the workout. So the stuff they do after their major deadlift, which would be what they refer to as accessories, they have better energy for it. They can end the workout with better performance, better intensity, and that's going to lead to a better adaptation stimulus and therefore better results because we have that nutritional support to meet the demands of that added adaptation stimulus. So when I work with higher level athletes, like outside of aesthetic competition clients, if somebody's doing bikini, figure, physique, classic physique, men's physique, there's like 5,000 categories. Bodybuilding, all those things. Where they're doing wellness was another one I forgot in there. There's like 700 categories. But when somebody's getting on stage, that sport is nutrition. So I have no pushback on nutrition from those clients because that's 100% what the sport's about. It's nutrition and lifting weights. They're easy. Both components have to be in place. But when you work with, like, say, strength athletes or sport athletes, I do sometimes get pushback on nutrition help. They'll say they don't need help with nutrition, but it's because they're unaware of any issues that their nutrition might be causing. So almost always, and I can't even think of a single instance where there wasn't something that we could improve in their nutrition. So literally every single time. And this has been, I've worked with Olympic level athletes, professional level athletes, D1 level athletes, just the top of the top and everybody in between kind of thing. And there's always something we can improve. Absolutely always. Always, 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 always. And that will represent an aspect of progress that if they didn't address it, it would have always held them back to some degree. So I was recently talking with one of my clients who's a realtor, and we were discussing housing inspections. And they recently, I guess, went to participate in a housing inspection, and they were surprised with how crappy the house was built. It was a brand new house, but it was like shortcuts everywhere. And I thought that was a neat analogy to this kind of situation is, like, athletes want the best possible outcome from their training. But when we want to analyze the entirety of the programming, meaning training and nutrition and sleep and stress management and supplements, they sometimes want to skip those steps. People will talk about training and supplements all the time. But when you talk to them about sleep, they fight back on that. Stress management, you might as well just be talking to a brick wall. And nutrition, sometimes you get pushback as well. But it would be like wanting to buy a house. You see this beautiful home. It looks great on the outside. But would you buy it? Would you buy into it without an inspection? Would you not want to look into the foundation of the home? So if you get a shiny new training program and it promises all the results you want, don't you want to look into what supports that program? The foundation of that program. Nutrition is the foundation for training programs. Training creates an adaptation demand. That's what training does. Is it puts your body in a situation, a stimulus, an environment that says essentially, you're not good enough, get better. But the body can't get better without proper nutrition, sleep, stress management, supplements. It can't do that. Like if you try to take a test, think you want to take your SATs, okay? And if you don't know what the SATs are, just think of a written test. And you have to have a number 2 pencil. You have to fill in these like little bubble sheets that are scanned by computers to tell if you have your answers correct. But you can have studied for the SAT all you want. You can have taken a course. You can have read all the books. You show up early, you show up on time. Everything could be perfectly in place. But if you don't have a pencil, you can't take that test. You cannot take an SAT in blood. You cannot stab your finger and put blood on the SAT paper. They won't accept it. I've not tried it, but I'm pretty sure they won't accept it. You have to have a pencil. Something as simple as a pencil could cause every problem that you could ever, dream of in your nightmares if you show up for an SAT. So if you show up for training and you have all the intent in the world, you took enough caffeine to kill a horse, like you're fired up, you're ready to go, but you don't have any nutritional support, you're stressed out of your mind, you have no sleep, it's going to be trash. You might be able to get through that one day, but you're not going to get through that the next day, the next day, the next day. You're not going to be able to get through a month of programming, 2 months of programming, 6 months of programming. You're not going to be able to maximize the training stimulus, let alone be able to fulfill the training demand. Nutrition 100% is the support for training. You must look into the support of the training program if you want the training program to work to its maximum capacity. I meet people all the time who exercise regularly, but they look and feel like crap. They go to fast-paced, group classes. They end each session red-faced, out of breath, ready to puke, but they look soft, pudgy. They're unhappy with their progress. You can't even tell they even work out. I meet trainers who never miss a day in the gym, but they're soft, no muscle definition. They're not really that strong. They might have cardio abilities to, run laps around people. They could do 50, 60, 70 set workouts if they wanted to, but they don't even look like they work out. And it's because they don't have proper nutritional support. You can't out-exercise eating like shit. You can't out-exercise under-eating. You can't eat only 1,000, 1,200 calories a day and look lean and ripped and shredded, and it's just not going to work. You have to have proper nutritional support for the training to have its best possible outcome. If you want the most from your training, you have to give an equal effort towards your nutrition. So if you're not getting the results you want from your training, yes, it's good to analyze your training. Is that correct? Are you doing the right things? But you also want to analyze your nutrition. Do you have the foundation in place to support your training program? So do you have to track nutrition for your training program to work? It depends on how you define work. If you want to get the absolute maximum of your training program, without a doubt, 100% yes, you have to track your nutrition. If you want to make, okay, consistent progress, do you have to track your nutrition? Maybe not. Some people eat very consistently, so they don't really know like how many calories they eat a day, but they eat pretty much the same breakfast, they eat pretty much the same lunch, they eat similar dinners, they never really miss meals. They're relatively consistent, so that's probably going to be enough to support okay progress in training. But for people who are inconsistent with nutrition, sometimes they have breakfast, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have lunch, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have half of the breakfast that they normally have or half of the lunch that they normally have. Sometimes they'll eat super clean for dinner because they feel guilty, or they'll pig out and eat way more than they should because they just didn't care that night. The more inconsistent someone is with nutrition, the more impact negatively that will have on their training. Those are the people who train like crazy, but they look like shit. And that's why. Because you eat like shit. If you eat okay, you're probably going to get okay progress out of your training and you're going to look okay. But for anybody who wants to maximize their training progress, maximize the way they look, then they do have to maximize their nutrition. And it's hard to maximize anything if you're not paying attention to it. If you're not tracking some data, if you're not looking and seeing, okay, where am I at calorie-wise, protein-wise throughout the day? Really, that's all you got to look at is calories and protein. And that'll get most results for most people. Now, when I work with high-end clients, we definitely look beyond that. But for most people, that's a great place to start. Just, can I get enough calories into my day? Can I get enough protein into my day? And that is going to take care of a lot of things for a lot of people. And then from there, you do build up, the timing of carbs and fats and protein, and then types of sources and whatnot of those elements, those macronutrients. But really, simply tracking calories and protein can make an enormous, enormous difference for a lot of people. We have podcast 1928 titled Writing Your Own Nutrition Program. So I literally teach you how to do that. So if you want to listen to podcast 1928, I take you step by step how to write your own nutrition program. So totally for free. You can just listen to that and write it yourself. We do have nutrition-only coaching. On the website is a one-on-one service, so I can work with you, create a personalized nutrition program with you and for you, and then you can kind of take that and run with it on your own. And then I also have assistance where I write the training program and nutrition program, which is what I'm doing with this powerlifting client. But you don't have to pay a dime. It's totally for free. Podcast 1928. If you can't find that podcast on the podcast platform you're on, you can go to our website, www.brutalirongym.com. On the bottom of the homepage, if you scroll down a little bit, there's a podcast player that goes back 300 episodes. So you can go back and find podcast 1928. You can listen to that totally for free, but if you feel overwhelmed, if you feel confused, if you just want things to be streamlined, then you can pay for my help for a month or two, get yourself on board. I don't have any contracts with people who work together as long as you want. And then once you feel like you have an idea of what's going on, you can kind of take that and run with it on your own. So the help is there, free or paid for. I just want you to know that it's there. So if you're struggling, if you're frustrated, if just things aren't going the way that you expect, but you're so consistent with training and you just don't know why it's not working, it could be nutrition. So I'd encourage you to look into that. Awesome. Well, I hope today's podcast was helpful. If you have any questions, you can always reach out on the website, www.brutalirongym.com. On the bottom of the homepage is a contact form. You can send me any questions you want at any time, and I'll happily answer you back. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. The more people we share it with, the more people we can help. Also, if you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on the website. And if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.